Yeah, Bang Bang Rail. Years ago, I used to box for a club called London Transport. Also Hogarth, Chiswick. Also one in Southall, Handwall. I used to fight down there as well. Handwall Boxing Club. All around West London, I used to train and spar with people down there. And I used to be with a guy called George Whelan. George Whelan trained me really hard down at London Transport, and he could see the prospect I was getting better and better and better. Yeah, I've had some good fights, and he said it was about time that we go down to pro gym and start training down the pro gyms. Yeah, so he used to take me down to Haverstock Hill, the noble like Haverstock Hill, but I used to always be with a mate called Fal McGill. So I've been down there quite a few times with George. George Whelan introduced me to Bobby Neal. Bobby Neal liked me, mate. Bobby Neal wanted me to turn pro with him. Bobby Neal, he really liked me a lot, yeah. And he said I'd be a good pro. I mean, John or Gardner, um, he used to train down there, mate. He had about, what, 5, 6 people around him, John or Gardner. He had loads and loads of sponsors. I think he was intermediate, amateur. Um, he was a good fighter, very fit, very, very fit. But like you get a good fighter like that, John O'Gardner, all the sponsorships he had, and he had loads of sponsorships. I mean, as an amateur, if you don't get sponsorship, mate, you've got to go work and earn your money, and and train. It's quite hard, but as I said, John O'Gardner had loads of sponsorships. He never worked. He just trained all the time. Fit. He was fit. I see him in the gym, mate. He was unbelievably fit. He'd go 6, 7 rounds in the bag, 3 or 4 rounds in the pads. He spar for 10 rounds with all different people. Yeah, very very fit, John Gardner, and a good fighter. He was in the same. I was like intermediate. As I said, my mate Farrell was open class. Uh, Stan McDermott was on the same as John O'Gardner. Stan McDermott, I fought Stan McDermott stopped me in the second round. He was a southpaw, Stan McDermott too. Um, Good fighter, mate, the old man. I mean, his son fought Tyson Fury. I think John McDermott was it. He fought Tyson Fury. Yeah, Stan. I boxed him as an amateur. They say he stopped in the second round. Good fighter, Stan. But as it happens, it should have been stopped. It should have been stopped. Um, it should have been stopped. He hit me in the chin. I did go down, but it didn't hurt me. I just went down. I was a bit confused, and I could have gone on. I'm not saying I could have beat him, but it would have been a good fight. Anyway, he did beat me. He stopped me in the second round, and that's it. He stopped me. But all them, I mean, John O'Gardner was the same as Stan. It was like Stan McDermott. I think it was intermediate at that time. But my mate Farrell was open class, so he could fight any club, anywhere, anytime. Yeah. Yeah, I used to love going down Haverstock Hill, and I believe that Frankie Joe Fraser, he was down there training when he fought Bugner, fought Bugner, and also Henry Cooper was down there when he fought Clay. Yeah, there was a lot of fighters down there that trained down there, but I never see Fraser, I never see Clay, I never see Henry Cooper. Perhaps it's before me. I'm not quite sure. But I used to train down there nearly every Sunday, and also there and the Beckett. I used to train at the Beckett as a kid. I was getting really, do you know, like when you train with pros and you spar with pros, you become a really good fighter, mate. You know what I mean? Amateurs, you're not learning too much from amateurs, but pros, you learn a lot. Billy Ed, fantastic. And Bill was always down the Dock Hill. Billy Ed became a really good friend of mine, and I met him down at a pub called The Lil in Bermondsey. And when I walked in there, he got me straight away. All right, buddy. I go, all right, Bill, and he was like proper man to me, mate. He was a good southpaw fighter, mate, and he taught me a lot. I think he was British and European champion then. And he was a fantastic fighter, mate. But Farrell, my mate Farrell, used to get him with Billy Ed, and Farrell was Southpaw, John, and also Billy Ed was Southpaw. And Farrell and Billy Ed was having toe-to-toe fights. Billy Ed hurt Farrell a few times. And when I was to fight with Farrell, but as soon as I got in there, and I'd go around the ring, do a bit of shadow boxing and this, that and the other, and then put the gloves on, do some sparring, I was to get in with Farrell, me and him used to do 3 or 4 rounds, and it was fights. We used to have a really fight, real toe-to-toe fighting. And I would always kick him out of the ring. He would always fall on the floor, and I'd just kick him out of the ring because I was so big and so fit. I was really fit. I mean, come on, I trained really hard. Even though I was this intermediate and he was open class, I was really fit, and I loved fighting. I just loved it. Yeah, I loved amateurs fighting, and I loved training in the pro gyms. And Pat McCann, me and Pat, good mates. Me and Pat. I met Pat years later, but I was a bit, he knocked me quite well when I see Pat. I don't know what he was taking. I don't know if it was drink or drugs or what he was taking, but he was in a bad way, mate, Pat McCann. And he was a good fighter, Pat. I mean, a really good fighter. He could have been, he was the top, mate. And he loved me, mate, Pat, and I loved him a lot, He taught me a lot, Pat. I never sparred with Pat, but he taught me a lot on the bag, on the pads. He taught me a lot, but the day I got in with Joe Bugner and had a couple of rounds with Joe, Joe took liberties with me, really. I mean, I'm in there to learn. I know that. I'm an amateur. He's a professional fighter. But when I got in with Billy Ed taught me a lot. But when I got in with Joe Bugner, it wasn't about teaching you a lot. It was just about hurting you, which I suppose, in a way, is right. I was a big kid. He just took liberties. And he came bang. I mean, he hit like a mule. And, you got 16-ounce gloves on. It doesn't really matter, really. If a guy hits like a mule, you're in trouble. And he did hit me. He hit me really hard. And he hurt me lots of times, And so I think I had 2 rounds with him. That was enough for me, 2 rounds. He didn't knock me out, mate. He definitely knocked me out, or I just got on the canvas one knee and just stopped it. Yeah, he was a good fighter, Joe. Joe Bugner, he was a good bang, mate. He could bang, good banger. But as I say, Pat McCann didn't like him. Pat McCann had a go at him in the dressing room. Pat McCann wanted to have a fight with Joe Bugner. Yeah, mate, seriously, But anyway, I used to love me fighting. And I say, Haverstock, that noble art finished, and then my mate Leslie McIntyre took me to the Wellington Highgate, Georgie Francis, Mickey Duff, and all that little firm, Harry Levine and all that little firm, and Jarvis and Stair, they was all up there. Haverstock at the Wellington Highgate, and I used to go up there and spar up there. I used to see Conti, different class, mate. John Conti was a different class. He was proper, I think more quite. There was a few good fighters up there, mate. And but Leslie McIntyre, he turned pro. Sinclair Christie, he fighting under that name. He turned pro, welterweight. One day, me and him in the gym. He got me up. He was the one who got me to go to the Wellington Highgate. Wanted me to turn pro with Georgie Francis and Mickey Duff, And I say, as a kid, I mean, Mickey Duff, Georgie Francis, I'm not quite sure who else it was, not quite sure anyway. They went round my house on a Sunday to see my mum, to talk to my mum, talk to me about turning professional fight, turning as a pro, And you think I'm lying, this is the truth, man. And I wasn't there. I was with a girl, really ruined my life, I married her in the end, but it ruined my life because she wasn't interested in me boxing. She was more interested in money, you know what I mean, getting money. And so I threw that opportunity out the window. Didn't go down the Wellington Highgate no more. Me and Leslie McIntyre just kept thieving and just earning silly money. Like you're on £100 a week, get thieving, or £200 a week thieving. And as a pro, you could have been, I could have got there, you know, honestly. I mean, John O'Gorman become European champion, was he British champion? I'm not quite sure. And uh, I feel that I could have been as good as, or even not better, you know, because I was like the business, you know, I was a good fighter, and I could really bang, you know, and I could really bang. Sometimes when I lost the fight, when I've lost a fight at a show. I had a few. I've had about what 6, 7 fights at the Bell House Hotel, Beaconsfield, near where I live now. I go past it now, the Bell House, and I think, "Fine, that's the fight there quite a lot, you know." But as you know, I've lost fights. We all lose fights, you know. But it's a learning thing. It's learning. But anyway, I love my boxing, and and when I'm watching YouTube and I'm watching the boxing years gone back, and I think, oh, you know what I mean? And I see pictures of Joe Bugner and Billy Ed and Pat McCann, Fraser, Cooper, and all them, and Clay that used to go down Haverstock Hill, Noble Art Pro Gym, yeah, and good gym, mate. Check it out. Check it out. Fantastic gym. Anyway, bang bang mail. Please press the like button and subscribe. And good morning, yeah.